Welcome everyone to the January 14th, 2019 meeting of the Litchfield Board of Selectmen. I would like to wish everyone a happy new year and thank everyone for being here. The board is coming out of a paperwork review session and I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock and start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the first items on the agenda are review and approval of the consent items, which include the minutes of the meeting of December 17th, 2018. We have a town clerk's reconciliation of November 2018. Tax credits and exemptions. There are 12 of them. The Page Road purchase order for $75,000. We have an ACH school payment authorization. We have an accounts payable manifest January 15th of $359,507.39 and January 15th of $83,505.96. We have a payroll manifest January 10th of $53,698.96, and January 17th, $53,492.79. Are there any items that members would like to have removed from the consent agenda? No. Okay, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bork.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brunel. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0. Are there any other items that members would like to have added to the agenda at this point? Okay, and we'd like to say the public input will occur no earlier than 6:15 p.m. On to the regular order of business. Item 1 on the agenda is the MRI Inspectional Services Report. Medyard Kopazinski. Did I say it right?
Close.
Huh?
Close.
And
Medard.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's French.
Wow.
Who knows? Last name is Kopczynski.
Thank you.
Thank you. So good evening. I'm here tonight to represent MRI and to provide any information that you, Chief Fretzel, Troy Brown may need in regard to the study that we did. The last time MRI was before you was to present the report by Mr. Bobinski. And to some extent, this is an extension of that. MRI itself would really like to thank the Board of Selectmen and their participation and support. In particular, we'd like to thank the town administrator and his staff they're very commended for their invaluable assistance in scheduling interviews and providing information and, putting up with some of the silly questions that I asked. I'd also like to thank Mr. Lynch if he's in the audience because he was also very helpful in some phone conversation I had with him. The approach used for the assessment, including interviews with the town administrator, deputy fire chief, part-time contract building inspector, administrative assistant to the planning board, and administrative assistant, and the former building inspector and chair of the zoning board of adjustment. Samples of policies, permit applications, inspection requests, calendars, plans, fee schedules, certificates of occupancy, and the permit activity spreadsheet was supplied by staff for review. A survey instrument was created to send to staff that would allow confirmation of statements given and observations, as well as to answer questions raised during the review of the documents provided. And that gave me an opportunity to deep dive a little bit into how things are thought of and how they operate, and you get a better handle on where we are. We did an analysis of the last 4 years of permits, 3 complete and 1 partial, because at that time it was only a partial year. And contact was made with neighboring communities with samples of inspections, permits, and policies provided by the city of Nashua, the town of Bedford, and the town of Milford to discuss permit operations in Hillsborough County. And that's important because when you're looking at best practices, you could sort of say there's a regional best practice, there's a national best practice, there's a state best practice, and it's what you do in your neighborhood. I don't think you want to compare yourself to Miami. I don't think you necessarily want to compare yourself to Nashville, but you might. So you try to do the best to figure out what makes sense in the area that you're in. There are, however, some standards that I think you really should pay attention to, and a lot of those were contained in the report. The operations themselves were compared to the ISO Building Code Effectiveness Grading System. That's a system that would be really nice for you to get involved in. It'll give you a rating from the standpoint of your insurance ratings, similar to what takes place in the fire department. And it'll give you an idea of where you may land and what you may want to do in the future to improve that scoring based on the operations that you have and based on the training and experience of your staff. I also took a look at the New Hampshire building officials handbooks. They have a pretty good handbook on best practices, which gives you a pretty good idea of what the building officials in the state think are good practice. We did a review of the software that you don't have, quite frankly, and used by the Department for Filing, Permit Management, Code Enforcement, and Plans Review. The building inspector, zoning official, code enforcement officer, health officer, that's really what this person's been doing, is a very central position within the town of Litchfield. And we did consider efforts to define the present role and expectations of the position, looked at it historically, and what seems to be the current understandings of the needs of the community. And I know you've been talking a little bit about where this position should be and what it should do. And quite frankly, a lot of that really depends on what your needs are and what the community's needs are and what the select board and the town administrator want to position that and have that operate. I'd be happy at this time to answer any questions you may have and assist in any way. It was a pretty lengthy report. There's quite a bit of detail in it. A bit of it might be a little esoteric, and I'd be happy to assist you in looking at it.
I know I need to digest, the information in here from,
Sure.
Because it's quite lengthy, and
Yes.
and certainly we may have some questions as we proceed.
Sure.
And, but I will open it up.
If
to
you
my
don't have
fellow
any,
board
if
members.
you want to get some elaboration as you've read it, you want some further clarification, we'd be happy to do that.
Mhm. Gentlemen, do you have any?
I'm with you. I think you should spend some time just reviewing.
Yeah. John, Steve?
Yeah, I need some time to read it.
Yes.
It's 24 pages.
And it's dense.
It really is.
Yes.
I mean, I see a lot of areas of improvement. I see some concerns, obviously.
Sure.
I mean, what was if you had to give it a grade, how was the service being run in town?
Well, you have to take a lot of different aspects into consideration. As I said, what's important in the end is what's good for the community, what the community values. So, for example, when you're conducting an inspection, you're balancing citizen service from the standpoint of being able to get there quick and make the person happy, right? On the other hand, you're balancing trying to make sure that the work that's done is actually representative of code compliance and make sure that the building is safe. So it's a balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to a great extent, the community is doing that. I think you've historically done that. The question is whether or not there's a little bit better ways of doing that. That might give you some more time to spend more time with the citizen. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you can gain a little bit more transparency in using mechanisms like checklists and software products to enable the public to have a better understanding of what's being done. Those are probably the things that you should think about as opposed to where you land in different places. Mm-hmm. You can't compare yourself to Bedford.
Right.
Right.
And we wouldn't anyway.
Right? You can't.
Right.
You have to compare yourself to yourself. So you can look at a framing inspection on a house, and depending on the elements that you put into that framing inspection, you can spend 3 hours on that inspection. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what you want to do, right? Or maybe what you want to do is you just want to spend a half an hour on that inspection and do some other things. That's some of the balancing act that you have to go through. When you find a replacement for Mr. Lynch, You know, some of that's going to be dependent on their own experience. Some of it's going to be dependent on what he thinks and what he can agree to and what the community can agree to is the level of service they want to see. You know, is it more important that you make appointments for inspections? Or is it more important that you give the inspector all the time they need to do a thorough inspection? What's more important?
Mhm.
So that's some of the outreach that you may want to do. Once you've read the report along those lines of the recommendations about creating policies, looking into software that could help you manage the permits themselves, how you might want to set up your inspection criteria, whether or not the inspector should be more involved in planning and zoning and a little bit less in fire, or more in fire and a little bit less in planning and zoning, and how you might handle both of those things. I'd be happy to assist and give you any advice you may seek.
So what I'm thinking is that if we take a couple of weeks to digest the report.
Yep.
And maybe we could come up with questions or comments or whatever, and maybe either ask you to come back or send you the questions and then ask you to comment on it.
Sure.
Would that be okay?
Oh,
Is that
absolutely.
all right with board members?
Right. I think that's a fine approach.
Okay,
Very good.
that's what we'll do.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. We appreciate it.
I'm curious as how we're gonna take some of these recommendations.
Right.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
Well, there's a lot, and then,
there's a lot in that report.
There's a lot of subjects in there.
yeah, no,
Yes,
it's a really detailed, and I asked to kind of look for the overarching, because to your point, you said a lot of things I think we already knew or kind of thought.
Right.
I mean, record keeping is a challenge. Systems was a challenge. You know, those are all things we wanted to focus on and need to focus on. So,
Yep. Yeah, you know, it's an interesting business, code enforcement.
sure. You can either be someone's real good friend or you can't be someone's friend. It just depends on what situation you're in the situation.
Well,
You know, it's either you're a good guy or a bad guy. It just depends on what you're trying to enforce.
sometimes you can be everybody's friend, but also do the right thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you very much, Mr.
Safe travels back home.
Thank you. Okay, next item is a town flag update. Matt Lepore. Welcome, Matt.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by first actually presenting a rough draft of the flag itself. It's quite pixelated, but from a distance, it can be appreciated a little bit better. So you have the town seal featured in the canton, which is the upper right-hand corner. However, during the hearings that'll be coming up, if it passes at the town meeting, I might leave that open because a lot of residents had mentioned that they liked having something other than the town seal in the canton, and then the blue and the green as well. Okay. So next up, I'd like to express my support in having at least 2 public hearings related to the flag. I know a lot of people were concerned that it was kind of taking it out of the hands of the public. However, I think this method is very good because it will allow members of the public to directly give input and have a hand in perhaps updating the flag and giving their input. And it's another good opportunity to discuss perhaps the history of the town and the reasons why it came up with this design. And thirdly, I'd like to thank the board and the town administrator for their efforts and their support in this project, as well as thanking the other towns in the state of New Hampshire that have flags, who have been very supportive and given me literature related to how they passed their flags. And that's all I have. I just wanted to keep it brief.
Matt, with regards to other towns, did they have to go through the same process that we're going through?
What's that?
Did they go through the same process that we're going through?
So each town kind of did it a little bit differently. Most of the towns, it seemed that they passed it by ordinance, which is how Rye did it. Milford, they adopted theirs strictly by town meeting. Manchester had a weird hybrid where they had 288 designs that were narrowed down by a subcommittee down to 4, and the voters picked the top one out of those 4. So each one did it a little bit differently.
And they ended up keeping the old flag that
They did. They just
Yeah.
made it official. They had that flag previously. After
Yeah.
all that.
they kept the original flag.
Mhm.
So one consideration too is that if the town does adopt the flag, and I'm sure they will, where do we fly the flag? Because we can't fly the flag here at Town Hall because we only have the one pole.
We can put it underneath.
I
isn't it?
thought you couldn't. Not underneath the United States flag. Only the state flag, I think, going
Correct.
underneath it. We'd have, and
Oh,
I'm raising it to
I
understand
think you're
because
right.
Sure. Yeah.
when we vote this in, I think people are going to want
I
us to
think you're right.
display it, and we need to figure out how we can display it.
It could also be hung inside. I know Laconia, their flag, they hang it right behind the meeting chambers.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. I think
Okay.
that's a
You could
good
do
idea
that as
too.
well.
Yeah. But just realize, I think every flagpole owned by town is already, there's already real estate already being taken up, and we can't do anything different.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, but
Okay.
like I said, I only raised it because I just learned it myself.
Yeah.
I thought I knew flag etiquette. I guess I didn't know it very well. So,
All right, any other questions?
Well, Matt, thank you
Yeah, Matt, thank
for all your work, and thanks for keeping on top of this.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Pleasure.
All right.
Matt.
Thank you.
Good
Great
work.
work.
Okay, item 3, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown and Brown.
Just wanted to have the board, I know I've been working with the board, highway agent, in hiring a full-time position down at the highway garage. We offered a job opportunity to Kevin Brown. He's a resident here in the community, very well qualified. He worked for the town half of the plow season last year as a contractor under one of the contracts. Again, he approached us, knew that we were having some staffing issues this year, and I talked to the board about the hiring of this position. Was able to come to an agreement with Kevin. He's going to be an equipment operator mechanic assigned to the highway department. His employment started as full-time status on January 2nd, 2019. So I just needed the board to actually just ratify this action.
Gentlemen?
I'll do it. I make a motion that we move to ratify the full-time employment of Kevin Brown as equipment operator, mechanic for the highway department effective January 2nd, 2019.
Moved by Mr. Brunel,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Discussion?
I just think it's important to also note that the road agent, Jack Pensiero, highly recommended Kevin. He's the one that brought him forward as part of the concept. And obviously Kevin was, was very interested to help us out. So.
And I think it's important too. It helps, provides another layer of support for the road agent. Especially we're in the middle of winter season. So
It was a great opportunity
Yeah.
to be able to hire someone right here in Litchfield that's, available 24/7 to assist Jack, 2:00 in the morning, if a tree falls down across Albuquerque.
Right.
He's got someone, he's not waiting for someone to commute from Concord or wherever. And it's consistent with the MRI report where it had talked about, starting to take small steps towards getting some staff at the highway department. So it was just a great opportunity, great timing on everyone's part.
any other input? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0. It is 6:18, and we might as well open the floor for public input. And Mr. Salinas? Welcome.
Thank you. Pete Salidas, 31 Pearson Street. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all your hard work. I watch a lot of the meetings. You guys are doing a lot of stuff, so thank you. First thing, just want to voice my support for Matt. We've worked with him on the Conservation Commission. It's great to see a young man with so much passion and dedication to the town. Came up with the idea for the flag, started the website, got a ton of public input. So great job. And I just, I'd like to see that pass. I wanted to address some of the petition articles. Just out of curiosity, is it public record who submits the petition articles? Does that?
Yes.
It is a public record.
Yeah, the
Okay.
petitioner is supposed to be at the deliberative to
Okay.
present them. So
I was just curious because there's, what, 5 of them. I was wondering if it was the same person submitting them all.
they
Because they all
were,
seem
right?
to be kind of in the same vein.
I believe they all were.
Okay. Okay, I want to voice my concern specifically about Article number 14. Work with Troy, hardworking. He's got Litchfield's best interest in heart. And I know the board knows this. I don't know how many people understand the responsibility of a town administrator. You know, he's responsible for the day-to-day operation of the town government, represents the board during the day and in evenings, takes complaints from the citizens, chief negotiator for all contracts, you know, services, goods, capital items, personnel issues, responsible for making sure the town is in compliance with state and federal laws. So if we're not in compliance, we open ourselves up to all kinds of lawsuits. He also prepares and submits grants. So we could be losing a lot of money by not having someone in this position. You know, the 70s and 80s, maybe we didn't, you know, the town wasn't that big. Maybe we didn't need an administrator. We're close to a $7 million budget. Population's grown. You know, we need someone that's going to lead us, not just today, but in the future. You know, there's no reason to go backwards. It makes no sense to eliminate this position. Did research on salaries. You know, I've seen some people look at the salary. It's right in line with other towns, either in our area or our size. So, you know, I just wanted to voice my complaint against that. I hope you don't recommend it. It would be, to lose Troy would be to lose a great asset in town. So,
Thank you.
that's all right. Thank you. And thank you again for the great job you guys are doing.
Thank you very much. Next.
Well, Steve Gannon, Nesson Drive here in Litchfield. I want to reiterate what Pete just mentioned. Some of the proposed articles that were came forward, presented on the various forms, I don't personally agree with. I believe that our town is growing and continue to growing, and we do need someone in the profession of an administrator. I don't believe we'd be as efficient without someone in that position. As Pete has pointed out, I think Troy's been doing an excellent job. His salary falls in line where it should be. If anything, I think he's underpaid. Without someone in this position, I believe the responsibility falls onto this board. And you guys work full time, you work volunteer, and you're already overworked with the amount of work you have. I believe we do not have someone in town position as an administrator. It's going to impact Litchfield in a very negative manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm the one that put the 5 articles in.
All
Okay. All right. I don't know if you've been around with all the chaos that's been going on in the town hall, but it's because of a little bit of him, a little bit of these guys. No, there's been a little personnel problem going on between some of the departments.
What's your name? What's your name?
Are you a Litchfield resident?
Yes.
I don't know. You just
Yeah, I live in Lynchfield.
Okay.
Just name the director.
I got 20 years.
Enough,
here.
really?
Okay.
Let's go. Come on,
Come on.
enough.
Okay.
Voice your opinion, please.
All right. I brought up before about the police thing not being in the town. These are dates that the thing wasn't in the town.
Mhm.
Okay. When somebody, well, that's when you guys said it was, just you.
I
Okay,
didn't say
so I'm just
anything.
saying it was. Now I notice it's there. Great. It's super. We finally got the point across. That's great. All I want to know is, when is the lettering going to get put back on like it was previously? Because it was on the truck. And that's all there. The other thing is, on the purpose part of the thing, I thought that part of that goes into the warrant articles. To give a little statement on, I don't know if that does or not.
It does not.
Okay, so that's done at deliberative?
That's when you would come in and talk about it, yeah.
Okay. That's my other part on that thing. Yeah, that was it there. The The other part was, I've noticed that the fire chief's, the overtime thing has been going up. And we had it before with the previous one. It was down low. It seems to be going up. It seems like we're getting to spend more money in that fire department. For the training hours is what I'm saying.
So are you
I thought
against
we could
training,
cut
Joe?
back. Huh?
Are you against training?
Training can be done, but you can incorporate it on the hours that the guys are there.
And how do you?
Oh, wait, no,
All
there's
right,
two.
well, wait a minute.
Okay, hold on.
This, no
When's it
question
done?
and answer. Your comments only, please.
Right, and that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay, on the truck that we're gonna be replacing, doesn't Jack plow this parking lot here? Here, this town hall?
I don't know which.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it snows,
Yes, the road is, yes.
yeah, he does it here, so why can't he do, is he gonna do the fire station? I
He
hope?
does do
He
the
does
fire
do the fire
station.
station.
Okay, so we don't need a plow on that new truck that you guys are going for then. That's all, I'm just saying, you could cut that out to save a little money. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to have the plow on it, because Jack's gonna be here with it. Okay? That's all I've got,
Thank you.
right?
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Diane Plansky from 144 Talent Road in Litchfield, and I'm here to speak for Troy as well. And I hope that the board does not decide to support that warrant article. I think it's very important as a professional town dealing with big matters that we have someone who is responsible to take care of those all of the time. And the Board of Selectmen cannot be expected to do that. And as a selectman, you are in and out of offices, and this is someone who stays through that. So I think that's really important. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, I will close public comment and we'll go on to the regular order of business. Item 4, the command vehicle, Mr. Brown.
All right, there's been, over the past few meetings, we've had citizens comment. We heard again tonight about the command vehicle. And I sat down with the chief and we discussed the status of the command vehicle. So there's a lot of information, I think, that we need to understand. And I prepared a memo to the board. I think I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Just gives a little history of the use of that vehicle and where we're at today. So the memo is, the purpose of this memorandum is to inform the Board of Selectmen about the assignment and use of the fire department command vehicle. The command vehicle is a 2007 Chevrolet Tahoe. It's a 4x4 with 99,600 miles. It was purchased new on July 12th, 2007 for $32,672. It is equipped with a low-profile emergency lights in the front and the rear. It has LED strobe lighting, a siren, and it's registered with government plates. It is a safe vehicle for emergency and non-emergency use. The vehicle was assigned to Thomas Schofield, the former fire chief. He used it to respond to calls and commute to and from work. Chief Freitzel was hired on March 14th, 2012. His employment contract included use of a town vehicle. And I've attached an exhibit A for you to, where I've just did an excerpt of his contract. But he used his personal vehicle most of the time to commute to and from work and attend other department functions. Since the command vehicle was no longer used by the fire chief, the on-call officer took the vehicle home and was used for other administrative purposes. Within the past 3 to 4 months, Chief Freitzel started using a town vehicle in accordance with his employment agreement. Depending on the department needs and work schedule, different town vehicles were used by Chief Freitzel, but primarily he used the command vehicle. In November 2018, Warren's Auto Body removed body rust and painted the rear quarter panels, the front hood, and other body parts. The rear tailgate door was removed and replaced because it was not cost effective to repair it. Warren's Auto Body removed some of the vinyl lettering and striping, and because the remaining vinyl lettering and striping was faded and peeling, it was also removed. Replacement, to replace all the vinyl lettering and striping, was estimated to cost about $2,500. The vehicle was valued at approximately $5,000 to $8,000. For this reason, the department is not planning to replace the vinyl lettering and striping. In addition, since this vehicle is now being used by Chief Reitzel for emergency and administrative purposes, it is common practice to not mark public safety vehicles assigned to police and fire chiefs. The Litchfield Police Chief, police captain vehicles are unmarked. They are used for emergency, administrative, and limited personal use, and are taken home each night. So same type of use, same agreement in those employment contracts. Since I've written this memo, I talked to the chief today. Things have changed, and again, he's not using the vehicle. And he's having some discussion about putting a town seal on the door. Whether he does that or not, it's not usually been the practice of this board. It's not my practice to direct the chief to manage his property that way. This is an administrative vehicle, emergency use.
Gentlemen, do you have questions?
No, I think it's a good capture because
I-
the same argument happened when the
When
former
Tommy
chief,
did.
Tom, had it, because it was
Right.
always sitting in Hudson. It was down at the restaurant in Derry. And similar people complained about it. Most people complained about how over lettered it was in some cases too.
Mm.
I think the point is that it's the chief's vehicle and he chooses to do what he wants from the department perspective. And
And it's in his employment agreement.
And I'll touch on that. If you look at the vehicles over in Hudson, I believe the only thing that they have on those are town seals. They're white. They're not even red.
right.
And
The
those are the
chief's
community
vehicle
vehicles
is
that they
unmarked.
use over there.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Item 5, 2019 mileage rate.
Just been the practice of the board on an annual basis to ratify the mileage rate that's set by the Internal Revenue Service. This year, for 2019, I believe it's an increase of 3.5 cents at 58 cents per mile. And I would need a motion from the board to.
Gentlemen,
I'll move to establish the 2019 mileage rate at 58 cents per mile.
moved by Mr. Brunel,
Second?
seconded by Mr. Weber. Discussion? Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Mr. Brown at 58 cents per mile. 2019 warrant, Mr. Brown.
So a couple things before we take action on the warrant this evening. We are not scheduled to meet again in time to take action on this. So we need to take action this evening, or we'll have to have a special meeting because our next meeting will be too late for posting.
Take it tonight.
So, and I just wanted to let you know in case any questions come up or any concerns. So really the action that we need to take would be on the petition articles, but I did want to bring to your attention that typically
Article 2 also.
in Article 2.
Right.
So Article 2, now that the Budget Committee has taken a vote, you can act on. In Article 4, Selectman Bork was not present that evening, and the board may want to consider taking action on that. So if we have a unanimous vote, right now it stands at 4-0-0.
You're assuming a unanimous vote.
Well, yeah. The board usually likes to have
Right, and we
full,
can entertain a motion to reopen and then.
and then this evening, I didn't put it on the agenda, but we usually have a discussion about making assignments for, presentation at the deliberative session.
Have you started the presentation yet?
I will be this week. I mean, we'll have time to,
Right, but you have
Make the
another meeting
assignments.
before deliberative. So.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
so we can do that at the next meeting.
Oh, that's right. 'Cause we can't just post, right?
right. Okay, Article 2 is the operating budget. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriation by special warrant articles And other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth in the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $6,757,953. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $6,713,245, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Litchfield or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 sections to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Estimated 2019 tax impact of 8 cents. I will entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we recommend the budget, recommend Article 2 as read.
Mr. Brunel makes a motion to recommend, seconded by Mr. Weber. Discussion.
I just want to say two things. One, thanks to the Budget Committee. This was a very streamlined, very efficient process. They support a lot of things that we're doing. And secondly, I'd like to also thank Town Administrator. The prep work, the follow-up, the deliverable of all the information that the Budget Committee asked for was spot on time, and it helped to make the process go smoother. So thank you.
Great, and thank you for your work on that. Any other questions or comment? All in favor of recommending Article 2, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0. Article 4, is there a motion to reopen?
So made.
Moved by Mr. Brunel.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schaefer this time. To reopen discussion on Article 4, Human Services and Health Agencies. And I will entertain a motion.
They already did it. So you look for a vote. All right. Well,
The motion to reopen, so we'll make a
Yeah.
motion to reconsider recommendation.
Right.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brunel to recommend Article 4 as written.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0. Okay, Article
10, right?
10 is a petition article. This petition article seeks to implement one of the recommendations of the 2018 Municipal Resources MRI report. The study recommended more man-hours for the Litchfield Highway Department. Currently, the department does not have the proper staffing to provide appropriate safety standards on the job.
So question, obviously we recommend it, right? But it's not funded.
The problem is, right, there's no fiscal.
Right.
Right,
So even if we recommend it, we can't do anything for a
We
year.
can't.
Well, unless we can find the money, obviously, but
correct. Attorney, what did our attorney say?
So there's two things: is it doesn't raise and appropriate any funding,
Right.
So, so that's doesn't it just renders it ineffective as far as having a tax impact.
is it also advisory?
But it also it doesn't. It's not binding for anything because it just says implement the MRI report. So I do believe the petitioner's intent here was to hire 2 full-time highway employees. But unfortunately, the way the petition was written, the part that matters, the petition language didn't include the two positions. So that can be addressed probably at deliberative. I'm not sure.
But you can't change the.
That's
No,
the problem.
you
You get into
cannot.
the intent.
No.
So
But even-
just for people listening, the petitioner, the intent is if you're sitting at home and you read an article, and you decide, well, that petition article really doesn't do anything. It doesn't raise any money. It doesn't say it's going to hire 2 employees. I don't need to go to the meeting. If you change the intent and that person that was sitting at home decided not to come, was that right to be able to come and vote and speak against was taken away from them. So I'm not a lawyer, but our attorney will be there. And if there's technical questions.
And also, since there was no monetary amount listed at the public hearing, it cannot be added at the deliberative session.
Well, they could.
That's where the intent.
They can open the budget and add money in the budget, though.
Right.
They could,
So-
but that that has other
Yeah.
content.
And the article itself is advisory because the Board of Selectmen
Right.
Right.
have the right to hire and fire.
But if this article passes, it gives us the support to go to the budget committee to open up the 2 new positions, if that's the end result, and ask for their support to do that. Without going, again, with another warrant article to raise for those 2 employees. Or I guess we would still have to go to warrant because we don't know what the cost of those 2
Right.
employees are going to be yet.
It would have to be next year's town meeting.
Okay.
So, and that's okay. Even if we agreed with this, council says it's an advisory, which we agree with this.
Can't back it up to one now. Because
Right. No, you can't.
Well, you can't even change the
You can't
wording.
even change.
We don't know, no one knows what the one is. So
Right.
it
So-
seeks to implement one of the recommendations. There's several recommendations. So that's,
A lot of recommendations. Yeah.
that's, you know,
I mean, we certainly can speak, if we were to recommend it, we can certainly speak to what we think the intent is, but we can also advise that in that year that it's approved, we can't do anything with it. We have to
Right.
go through the process.
Right.
Okay.
Gentlemen, your thoughts? Motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. The Board of Selectmen recommends the warrant as described.
One second.
Motion by Mr. Brunel, seconded by Mr. Bork to recommend Article 10. Discussion.
I think we had a pretty good discussion up front. So.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, abstain. Sorry. Motion carries 500. Article 11, by petition, to see if the town will vote to reverse the code enforcement officer, health inspector, zoning administrator, 3 positions in one back to its prior successful operation as a single appointed position, reporting to the Board of Selectmen and being independent of the fire department. If adopted, this change will take effect within 30 days and continue in effect until changed by a majority vote at an annual or special meeting. Was there a comment by town council on that?
so again, this would be an advisory vote as well.
Moved by the board?
Hmm?
Is there a motion by the board?
I'll make a motion. We don't recommend.
Moved by Mr. Brunel not to recommend Article 11.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Weber. Discussion?
So if we're voting to not recommend it, we're voting yes.
We're voting.
No,
we're
we're
gonna vote. It'll be a negative vote, but it'll say not recommended.
Not recommended by the board.
It's weird the way it says.
Yeah, it's a word, but that's the way we have to do
I think
it.
the MRI report, my issue is that remove the person part. My issue is that we have a department that by its own report has some deficiencies and has some good things too, but there's some deficiencies. We've got to restructure this department. Whether we continue on the path we're in right now or not is still to be determined. So it just sets us backwards, right?
Right.
And I don't want to go, I really don't want to go backwards. I don't think it's good for the community in general.
Are all in favor of not recommending Article 11, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 500. Article 12 by petition. To see if the town will vote to discontinue the appointed office of highway agent and to authorize the town to elect a highway agent. The current highway agent shall continue to hold the office until till the 2020 annual town meeting election, at which time the town will elect a highway agent. If adopted, the authority of the town to elect a highway agent shall continue in effect until changed by a majority vote at an annual or special meeting. Gentlemen,
My personal feeling is I feel the same way on this article that I do on 11. I
okay.
don't want to take that step back.
Well,
Right.
it goes back
We're going
to.
Back to the MRI report again.
We go back to the MRI report, we go back to electing someone who may not be qualified, narrowing our options when we try to bring a quality resource in. And it's a step
It's a
backwards.
very important department for the
It is.
town.
It is.
So
And we've had history where things did not occur because of the person in the role.
Okay.
And not necessarily about the person, but just the relationships and not being able to orchestrate those size scale projects. So I don't want to see us go backwards.
All right, I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion we don't recommend.
Moved by Mr. Brunel not to recommend Article 12,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Bork. Discussion?
The only discussion I just wanted to add, this one, if passed, is binding.
Right.
So I just wanted to disclose that.
I think I understand. If the voters decide they want to go back, that we accept that, we follow through. No
Right.
objection there. It's just, we need to go back to the voters when we present this one, when the petitioner presents this warrant and we go up and do our position, we've got to help, we have to be able to educate the voters on why we did it in the first place and what we're trying to accomplish. And having an elected official takes a lot of the management aspect away from the board.
Right.
We've been really, really lucky that the current road agent who was elected and appointed has been a resource that has been phenomenal. He has done everything and he's worked really, really hard. We've got a lot of roads fixed in his term from elected to appointed. We could go back to when we got nothing done. We had money sitting in the budgets in the past that were not spent because the person couldn't execute a plan. That was a person who was elected. Not their fault, but that's just what happened. And I don't want to see us go backwards. So and that's why I'm against it's not, if the voters decide, that's the voters' decision. It's just, and we'll work with it, but it's a tough situation.
Okay, all in favor of not recommending Article 12, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0. Article 13, by petition, to see if the town will vote to reverse the appointed office of part-time fire chief to an elected position. The current fire chief shall continue to hold office until the 2020 annual town meeting election, at which time the town will elect a part-time fire chief. If adopted, the authority of the town to elect the fire chief shall continue in effect until changed by a majority vote at the annual or special meeting. I just,
It's
I
the
spoke,
same argument.
same argument, especially in a technical position such as this. You could have someone go and sign up to be fire chief that has absolutely no experience or qualifications whatsoever. And he could get elected, he or she. And in a town of 8,700 people, you just can't do that. I'll accept a motion.
Go ahead, John.
I might as well be the
I like the way you're saying them.
Yeah. I move that we don't recommend this Article 13 as reviewed.
All right, move to not recommend Article 13 by Mr. Brunel,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0, not to recommend. Article 14 by petition, to see if the town will vote to discontinue/dissolve the town administrator position. If passed, this will take effect 30 days from the 2019 town election.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Crucial position. First off, the way this article is written, if they follow the same criteria, this is a personal attack.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had a town administrator for 8 years now. Was Jason here 4 years or 5 years? I can't remember.
It's either 10 or 11.
Yeah.
It was 10 or
So
11 that we.
the town administrator role, and I think some of the other folks kind of presented it, they have saved us more money than they cost us.
Oh, yeah.
You may not see it because it's you may not see it, but it's there. And the reality of it is that the town of our size needs an administrator. And whether it's a personal attack, Joe, if it wasn't a personal attack, you wouldn't write it the way you wrote. Effective 30 days, the guy's well his job.
I had help with that. I didn't know how to do
Okay.
that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, is there a motion, please?
Real quick. And I'll just say for me to you, Troy, I think you do a very good job. So for all the viewers out there, they don't see everything that you do every day. All they hear is the hearsay part of it. People don't get the big picture. They only get it from when they get an indirect from their friends. For me to you do a great job, and just keep doing what you're doing.
And I was the town administrator for 4 years. And I thank you for everything that you're doing for this town, because I know what the job is. And there's absolutely no way that the Board of Selectmen could do what you're doing. And this is absolutely.
The big example is the PFOA exercise.
Right.
If it wasn't for the fact that this gentleman was hurt, or any town, we'll remove him. a town administrator was in the role taking care of that. The things that went off the way they went off, the scheduling, the meetings after meetings and meetings and meetings, would never get done as efficient as it was. That's the role of the administrator. So it's not a role this town can be without.
To manage the day-to-day operations of the town that we cannot do as a board. And thank you for what you do.
This
I'll
is coming from a
accept the
person who's in
motion.
and out of this town almost every day, in this town hall every day. I couldn't imagine trying to do everything he's doing on top of everything I'm doing from a town perspective too. So,
I'll accept the motion, gentlemen.
Good, John, keep going.
motion, I make a motion, we don't recommend Article 14 as reviewed or read.
Move to not recommend by Mr. Brunel.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Weber. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0.
And for the folks that are watching in the room, before we all go off on Facebook and criticize all of us for doing it, give us a phone call. Let us talk through what's going on because we're all getting one-sided conversations.
Right.
Our numbers are listed. My emails are listed. I'll explain my opinion, why I vote the way I vote. Have a good
And
night.
thank you all
Thank
for
you.
coming. Article 6, 2019 default budget form.
We're going back up.
Mr.
There's
Brown?
more meeting.
That's all they care about.
Have a good night.
And it's not against him. I can tell you that person. Okay?
Default budget, Mr. Brown?
Doesn't matter, Joe, the voters are gonna decide.
Yeah, it's gonna make us.
Have a good night.
Okay, so when you approve the town meeting warrant articles, the operating budget, we also included in that article the default budget. This has been submitted to the DRA. The forms, been submitted. By the way, all the warrant articles have been submitted to DRA. They have gone through the checklist and they've been all approved. So default budget this year is $6,713,245. That is $44,708 less than our proposed operating budget. So pretty close, pretty tight this
Really
year.
close.
Yep.
And a lot of factors involved. I won't get into them this evening, but that's the tightest we've been for about the last 3 years. We've had had a bigger gap than that. So I think that's good. I think it's a good indicator that our proposed budget is pretty solid.
No, we don't, you don't need to vote on that, or?
Yeah, just you need to vote to approve it.
Okay, is there a
and
motion,
sign
please?
I think you've already signed.
So moved.
So
Moved by
second.
Mr. Weber, seconded by Mr. Schaefer, to approve the default budget of $6,713,245. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries
Shouldn't we have done that before we voted on Article 2?
5-0-0. I'm thinking that, but it's a formality.
Yeah, the forms are formality.
All right, recreation donation acceptance, $50. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, so we received a letter and a check in the amount of $50. It's from Margaret and Bob Hanson. And the purpose of it is in memory of Elizabeth Betty Darling, who passed away, I believe, this year. She was very active with the Litchfield Seniors Group. And so this money, I think, was to give to the Rec Commission for their continued support of the Litchfield Seniors Program. I guess the big thing is they have an annual Christmas lunch or something like that.
Yep.
So we'll let this go. Hopefully the Rec Commission will go ahead and use this money towards other events for seniors.
Gentlemen? We need to move to accept.
I move to accept the donation from Margaret and Bob Hanson in the amount of $50 to the Litchfield Recreation Commission for continual support of the Litchfield senior activities.
Moved by Mr. Weber,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0. Okay. Administrator report, Mr. Brown.
All right. Actually got a few things to report this week. So the conference tables, that funds that we encumbered last year, was able to make that purchase before year end. They're going to be delivered this Friday.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Nice.
They're they're kind of like this,
But they
except
attach to it,
for
they
they
lock
can
together.
fold up, and so if we wanted to
You clean the room.
use this room for something else, you can. I think the fire department's looking at the same type of setup for their community room. They will have grommets and the ability to do some internal wiring.
Good.
And it's supposed to have the ability to plug into an outlet, and you should have some receptacles, one per table or something, so your
Okay.
laptop. So, it's hard to, when I purchased them, it was really hard. I don't know if it's designed so there'll be 2 people per table, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a little tighter for you or not.
Well, if you can attach it, it'd probably go longer, right?
Yeah. So, but it'll be a good.
What do you guys
And then
do?
the fire department is going to try to use this table. It doesn't fit in one of the rooms they have, but they've talked to a contractor. They believe they can cut it in half and remove a foot or so
Yeah.
of it and actually
Put it back together.
put it back
Oh,
together.
they could do that.
So Steve Perry would be very happy about that because that was his suggestion too.
Yeah, they could definitely do that.
Well, thanks, Steve, for a suggestion.
Remember Steve just cut it in half.
Yeah, really.
Remember
I'm
that?
not sure how you even get out of this.
I'll never
I'm gonna
forget
cut it up anyway.
I know. That's
He
the
was-
thing. I don't
he
know
was
how to
just-
cut it
he
in.
was-
here. Well, the legs must come off.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This is heavy too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the cable TV stuff is in that box.
I know
So
that's going to be a little tricky.
I just
But what
I
we're gonna do
would
with that.
send a note to Dick and Russ and have them see if Russ can come over ahead of time to pull it all apart because he's going to have to put it all back together somehow. He's the technology guy for the cable stuff. So
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Okay.
All right. Just so you know, if you've heard some discussion, I'm kind of wondering what's going on. The fire station project's going along extremely well. I don't know if I should call it a setback, but I think everyone's been really waiting for those overhead doors to be installed. And for whatever reason, there's some electrical modifications that needed to be done. So they weren't able to apply the sheetrock on the inside of the Bay Area. So they're trying to wrap up the sheetrock this week, and I believe we'll start seeing doors installed next week.
yeah, I think there was a
That's the
discrepancy in
plan.
electrical work and
There were no motion detectors. The
Motion
chief,
That's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
the chief actually caught it, and it was a mistake on the architects, engineers, whoever, but he was able to get it sorted out. And so there's motion detectors when you come in any direction in that building, the lights are all going to come on in the bay and turn off.
Yeah,
Eventually.
that's part. Yeah,
Which is one of the problems I understand the old station is that sometimes lights get left on.
Not sometimes.
The other thing about they started the data wiring too, and they're going to get ready to run the fiber across. They started this week, data wiring. I think the fiber's next week. So you may see some activity in the back of this building too. So it's all good.
I met last Friday out at site on the Charles Bancroft Highway. I think it's 588. Met with New Hampshire DOT official, and we looked at the proposed location for the sign. The person that I met with doesn't have the authority to issue the sign permit. That's going to be issued by Concord. But he told me that it comes down to him, and he has to review and approve it before Concord will send me the official permit. So the site visit was to get out there on site, make sure he was comfortable knowing what we were doing. And he was very pleased with the location, felt that 10 feet back from the edge of pavement should be adequate because no one, without doing a major amount of research, which could take 6 months or something, no one knows what the right of way is on that section of the road. They kind of know, but it's in rods and
Yeah.
old documents.
Well, then they ran a problem. They ran into a problem where the horse farm.
With the water, with
Oh,
the water
yes,
line.
they
yeah.
did. Yeah.
So anyhow, he's good with it. So I will be,
The deed.
I'll be preparing the sign permit. So we'll be getting permission to do that. In the meantime, the sign company has the signs done. So that's just ready.
Same as the south side.
Same as that. The one thing that we're waiting on, we don't know what posts will be required from DOT, whether they're going to allow us to put our aluminum post in the ground or if they're going to require wooden. So we've held off on prepping the post. And so I think DigSafe was contacted last week. We'll get the DigSafe marking. They plan on jackhammering the holes out, and then we'll wait for the permit. So we're actually going to be able to, we should have the site prepped, holes dug, put hay bales over the hole or something, and once we get our sign permit, sign will go in.
Nice.
So we're getting close. And
Thank you.
I don't expect DOT to have a long period to review the permit.
Okay.
So put that in your list of accomplishments.
Yeah.
It's only taken
One of
how
those
long?
fun ones. You just love that one. It is actually, it was worked out good. Kind of a curveball when we realized that we weren't going to just be able to replace it in the same footprint. We had to move the location. Transfer and solid waste staffing. I wanted to give you a heads up. Dave Mellon has been communicating to me. He has one of his staff members, possibility, could be out for personal reasons for a period of time, and maybe nothing comes out of it. But pretty key person, and so he's talked to his staff. Everyone down there is committed to helping Dave out, filling that shift if it becomes vacant. And Dave is actively in discussions with a couple residents, as I understand, about their willingness to work more on an as needed basis, sort of like a call. Substitute teacher is what Dave called it, where you have someone that wants to do it, wants to become certified, but they really don't want to be there every week, but they would be there to cover for sickness and vacancies. So I just wanted to give the boards a heads up, and if we can find that right person, I'll probably proceed forward with getting the person on board, and then I'll have the board ratify the hiring when that occurs, if it does. The highway, I wanted to make you aware, the snow pusher down there at the transfer station came in today, so we were able to purchase that before year end. And I think I failed to let you know that the mower that we agreed to purchase, that did come in late November. So that is in. It's stored away in a garage till such a time they have time to really figure out. They want to do some training on it. I think HP Fairfield said they'd come down and do a little training. So, but that will be available early this spring to use. And as I've told the road agent, he agrees, the best time to do a lot of this type of work when we're doing brush and that kind of stuff is before the leaves come out. It's, it's a lot less messy. So that'd be some email traffic was going around today. We received John Latcha, a resident, sent me an email concern about the cable studio and the fact that it's not handicapped accessible. We don't have any way of getting people up to the second floor. And I'll be working with Dick Pentany, all the staff from the LCT staff, all were kind of weighing in. And it's kind of interesting, what come out of it was that they feel they have a plan where they can make accommodations for issues where we have a handicapped person. But one of the things that I heard a lot of today was the need for a bathroom down there. So there is no bathroom in that building. So
There's going to be some big bucks.
I don't know what the access is with the fire department. I want to pursue that. And so I just wanted you to be aware in case you hear some talk on the.
It was one of the reasons why they abandoned the studio to begin with, because there was the issue came up years ago about ADA access and not having bathrooms and having audience. I know they're doing a lot of shows out of there, which is great. They're using the facility, but maybe we've got to start thinking about that building is a shed and it needs to be called a shed. And
I agree.
There was
built as a shed.
There were some ideas kicked around too of which I'm not that familiar with the building. I need to get back in there again. But half that building, if I'm correct in saying half of it, but we have storage of documents in there.
There is, yeah.
And if those documents found a new home, easier said than done, but if they could, then that could free up a lot of space.
Where do you think where do you have space?
That?
Where do you have space for the because those documents?
No, I know.
They were originally in the old town. I think when they started having moisture problems, they moved them up there, if I recall.
Right. Yeah.
But
so that's why I said easier said than done. But But that was one of the interesting comments was that, you know what, if the building was committed at 100% for cable operations, then maybe the studio could be moved to the first floor. That would, eliminate your ADA issues.
Go across.
And
Well, that storage.
we know the leach
that
field. We
storage
just
is-
spent a lot of money on the leach field.
Yep.
So a pipe to the leach field, there's some possibilities.
The storage area is not as big as the
I
downstairs.
know.
And
I don't think
and you
it's-
have all the core
Oh, yeah.
infrastructures in that downstairs floor. So where would they put all that? It would probably be better if we could figure out how to leverage the old town hall and turn that into the studio.
Yeah.
But we have the historical society in there. So
Why don't we wait? on
How
that
often
one?
is that building? How often
I
are
know.
they in there?
they're
in
doing a
there,
weekly show out of there now.
They're in the staff are in there a lot doing.
What is
editing
and I'm not being facetious, but at this point, what's the chance of having an out
Porta potty?
porta potty?
That's the kind of discussion I'll have with Mr. Pentheny,
Right.
finding out. I mean, then he can talk to his staff
Correct.
and see if
And at some point, if there is money available, to retrofit, maybe.
Right.
But until then, that could be satisfied with that type of.
Yeah, that's relatively
the-
inexpensive.
Right.
When we opened the studio for non-cable staff to do shows out of it, that was a concern that was going to come up. And it does, understanding that John Latcher brought it forward, at least raised a concern. It is what we have. If we can either shut the whole thing down and not do anything and not have no more shows out of that facility, which would be a waste. Because I think they've done a lot of work there, and there's some fun shows that are coming out of there and good shows coming out of there. So, but even to make it ADA compliant, how would we even do that? That's a
you
lot
can't.
of, yeah, so that's a lot of issues. All you do is moving down, like you said, to the first floor, but you got an infrastructure problem. A bathroom, to your point, a porta potty would solve that, but that's still not really
Right.
That's still temporary.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for those guys because they do go over to the fire department, I think, and use the bathroom. I think they have access. Well, I assume they have access because there's a key over there for the studio. So, but I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Well,
and just
maybe,
because
maybe you could talk to them.
just wanted to give you guys a heads up
Yep.
because there was a lot of good
See what their
discussion,
suggestions are.
and it probably eventually something's going to come back to you.
All right.
folks.
Good.
Dave Mellon.
Pharmaceuticals.
Dave Mellon. So yeah, he attended 2 training sessions at Primax, our workers' comp, property liability insurance provider. And so he took a course on pharmaceuticals and sharps, which is a big issue today.
Yeah.
The disposal of that. And he does have the ability to dispose of those needles and sharps down there. And another one ticked off because him and his staff had some issues with ticks down at the facility, and I think also putting the flags up along the 3A. Yeah. So it was just something just to really become more aware of how to prevent,
Oh, ticks. Okay, ticks. Okay.
ticks.
That's the
Yeah, the
insect.
actual
Okay.
ticks, yeah.
Yeah, that's how it's trying to
Ticked
figure
off.
out.
What are they mad about?
Sounds like our meeting.
Oh, and last couple of things, insurance claims. So if you recall, back in November, when we had our first couple of storms, we had a couple of accidents, and the insurance company notified me today that the damage done to our vehicles would be covered under our insurance. The contractors, the way our contract's written, and the way their insurance is written, it wouldn't provide coverage to our vehicles. Our vehicles are insured through our policy, and it runs with the vehicle. Our insurance runs with the vehicle. They're insured for their liability, but they're they've informed me that with the review of our contracts, they are not seeking damages from their insurance. So, and it goes back to my discussion. I don't know if you remember, the insurance company back when this happened, they said in the future you really should look at hiring seasonal drivers so that they're
As
100% town employees. If you're going to contract services, make sure they're 100% contractors with their own equipment, plows, sanders, salters, and
Not
waves.
using town.
Make clear separation.
But in the exposure doing that is we would be responsible for workman's comp,
Yep.
I think that's really the only exposure.
Where
right?
work,
Taxes.
workers' comp is really,
Yeah,
the-
taxes.
and then, you know what, in highway employees, the rate is higher, but I mean, they're not as bad as like a police officer.
Oh, yeah,
firefighters,
yeah.
I understand. Yeah.
It-
So in final, there's when the final writing letters come back, I'll make sure I share that with you. And then I think you're all aware of this, but the 1 ton, we lost the transmission in the 1 ton. I was notified last Friday. Road agent came in and talked to me. I asked what his recommendation was, and he said we need this vehicle as the back one part of our frontline vehicle. And I told him go ahead, just get it replaced. So I believe he started that process.
This was the F-450, right?
This is the F-450. The verbal estimate is $5,000 to replace the transmission.
And what's the year of the truck again? 'Cause that's fairly new.
That's a 2012.
How many miles are on that?
It's probably low.
I don't think there's much more. I don't know, but I think
Did you say that was a
I
Ford?
think 45 to 50,000 miles.
It just seems low.
5.
Well, it's only around town. I don't think it goes anywhere else, but it's.
But we lost the transmission that soon.
It's a Ford. That's all
Well,
I said.
We did also have a rim and tire replaced on it. I wonder if they're tied together at some point, because if you hit something hard enough, you can affect your transmission too.
Yeah.
You know, and we did have a rim,
Really?
4 tires replaced on that truck, didn't we?
Yeah, there was
Like a month
Really?
ago.
How,
During one of the
does that,
November
how does
storms.
that do then?
Well, just the sheer force of the
force.
yeah, the
I
sheer
know
force
that. I
of
used
the
to
really?
manage Amco.
you can screw up a transmission with a simple jolt. Like
I did
Most
not
people
know
blow
that.
their transmissions when they get stuck.
No.
I think they get stuck in snow because they're rocking back and forth and they're shifting fast.
Yep. We've had a lot of repairs this year. I was looking at the budget, and we spent like over $30,000, and we budgeted like 15.
Well, I think 12 is the one that we didn't expect.
I
That's
mean,
the
is
big
our
one.
stuff getting old? I mean, is it something we got to look at? Are we not maintaining them?
Yeah.
You know,
maintenance, yeah, it could be.
maybe we might want to systematically start just looking at maintenance of our vehicles.
Fix it
how they're
now
getting
before you
done.
buy the fire trucks.
Yeah.
So what do you want?
Well, I think with Kevin coming on board, that has now we have some
Right.
resources that they can work together to get that
Yeah,
plan
they can,
finalized.
yeah.
But I'd be just curious on what maintenance we did to that 1 ton, if any.
Hmm.
Just curious, just go back and see, and start at one point and just start looking at maintenance. Now that, as you said, we have Kevin, we have more resources to help do it.
Okay, you all set, Troy?
Sure. I
Troy,
didn't know
you
you.
have time to go and look at the maintenance on it just to see.
We can, I can talk to Jack and see what he keeps for records.
Do you want to share that?
What are you
story
looking
with me?
for? Like, are you looking for since the day we bought it or the last 12 months? Or?
I mean, it just seems like a transmission going after 50,000 miles. I mean, I don't know much about, heavier trucks, if that's normal or not.
I don't either.
I mean, well,
But the one thing that worried me when I heard this was that we've had a discussion about the possibility of getting away from the more heavy duty plow
Yeah.
trucks and going to a 1 ton. And that was the one thing that kind of came to my head was like, can the transmissions hold up? But I know today they're 550s, they're not 450s, right?
Well, whatever. I mean, you can get a
Yeah, you can get
350.
well, I think we should wait to see what the end result of the transmission is and get a report from the company repairing it. What was the damage, and then figure out if it's plowing or it's just maybe it's a
You know, a guy who had one that had
It could be.
35,000 miles, he had to replace the engine. And it was
Yeah.
Ford.
But we had a cruiser replacing the engine. We had a cruiser that we had to replace the engine with 15,000 miles.
Yeah.
No, it was low mileage anyway. I don't know what
And what's the
it was.
warranty usually? 100,000 miles
This would be
in
out
so
of-
many years or something, yeah.
This would be out of
Because
warranty.
usually there's a powertrain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably 100,000.
100,000
But it's
or
out of
3
probably-
years or something like that, right?
I remember when we bought it. So, because it's 2012, right? So, yeah, clearly I remember when I
So
bought
even
it.
if you bought the extended, I don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're 7 years in.
no, so we had to get, I think we did it under capital improvements and used impact fees to do it. And we were scraping the dollars to do that.
Oh, the 1 ton?
I think so. It was one of we did it with a couple of vehicles on it. The front end loader was done through impact fees. I think the big dump truck was done on impact fees too.
Yeah, it was. You're international. You're
Yeah.
2010 internationals, I know.
So I don't remember if the 50 was or not, but
Well, if you want, I don't know. Do you want me to talk to Jack and just see if he has
Yeah,
any?
see.
Are you okay?
Curiosity.
As well.
I don't.
And
think
we're
this-
probably gonna learn more when they go to
It's-
replace it anyways.
He's probably tired. I don't know. I can talk to him, see what he's got.
Okay, selectmen reports. Mr. Weber.
Nothing to report. We have not had a meeting since the holiday break. Our next meeting is tomorrow evening on the planning board side.
Is there anything you want to report on that? The meeting?
With legal counsel?
With legal,
No, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
But the Mel's Funway will be on the docket tomorrow evening.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
I mean,
Mr.
the only thing about that, I just want the board to understand that because I'm acting zoning administrator, we have had some complaints filed directly with the board. I am working with the planning board and legal counsel, and at this time, I'm just following direction of legal counsel.
Mhm.
So if people have submitted the complaints, the zoning complaints, and they follow up, have a discussion with you, let them know I am working with legal counsel.
Great.
We're kind of waiting. We're probably just kind of seeing what action is going to occur at planning board level, and then we decide what action, if any, we take for enforcement.
Mr. Burnell?
Budget committee had its last meeting last week. Budget hearing was conducted. The final vote on all the warrants, all the warrants and the articles were done. Again, it was a good job done by all for the most part. Not necessarily committee reports, but just as a follow-up to an email I sent out to the board regarding the website, the new website and the transition. So just for people who may go and see it, we are trying to transition over to a new platform. It's creating a lot of work in the back end to get everything kind of moved over from 10 years of the old site that I created 10 years ago, migrating it over. But the format's there. You make it, like I know today, the 2019 town meeting is actually hosted on the new site, but it's referenced on the old site. So you go there, you're going to get the new site, you're going to see it, you're going to be able to walk around.
Oh, really? That's how
Yeah.
it works on it.
Same thing. I've actually moved the board of selectmen's minutes over there, plus all the video references are on that. It's also again, you go here, you may get over there. Just realize that. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Troy, was I've been thinking about a town administrator report that is about a roll-up of all the actions of the board of the week. One of the things we have that spreadsheet we keep, and I think that's, our reference to it, but
Right.
we have a lot of actions. We talk about a lot of topics, and wouldn't it be nice to have a weekly, say Fridays?
Well, how about bi-weekly? Because we meet bi-weekly.
It will, no, that's what I meant, sorry. After our meeting,
Yeah.
Isn't it
by that
Monday
Friday,
we meet?
you,
Have
just
a-
as you were doing for me with the budget committee, just a roll-up that I can
Yeah.
post as a news story on your behalf. So that it gets out there. So they say the board took these actions or had these topic discussions. Especially if we vote on something and there's an action and kind of follow up. I think that'll help because it'll get out there frequently. They'll see it. They can go reference the minutes, the video, and then I'll know, hopefully more interactive. It is going to be more work for you and I because we now have to post it, out of cycle in some ways, but I think it could go a long way in helping people understand what actions we're taking versus well after they're done. Like, especially if we're gonna have a topic the following meeting, we could help post it there. They could see it as an action meeting, public forum for this topic. Again, just trying to get more information out in front of people. So,
Okay.
and I could start that this week.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let's try it this week.
Yeah, we'll try to settle on a format, and then you can just kind of follow it going forward.
All right. I met with the Heritage Commission on Monday night. A week ago. Monday? Tuesday.
It was last Tuesday.
Tuesday. And we've basically adopted the bylaws and we're moving forward. A lot of good activity in the commission, a lot of good historical information coming out and moving forward with that.
Are you doing that once a month?
Yep.
Once a month?
Mhm.
Cool. I got nothing.
I was out of town for our commission meeting last week, so
Okay.
don't have anything.
Okay, there are no items removed from consent. Any other business to come before the board? Next regular meeting is January 28th, 2019. Reminder, 2019 elected positions. The filing period begins Wednesday, January 23rd and goes till Friday, February 1st at 5 p.m. And deliberative session is Saturday, February 2nd at Campbell High School Auditorium. What time is
That
that?
starts at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Schaefer, seconded by Mr. Brunel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.